Hi, I'm George Pearson, and this is a tutorial video for Adobe's Photoshop program. You'll find links in the description for any materials used in this video, and of course don't forget to subscribe, like, and also share the video. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the video. In this Photoshop video, we'll be taking a look at how to do this Halloween Scarefest text-based logo. It could be used for a film festival or a haunted house or some other kind of Halloween event. Pretty straightforward. A few fun little things. We'll be making the bats ourselves as well in here. Most of the work, of course, as you can see up here, is on this top line of text, and we'll be working on that second. That's pretty straightforward, actually. Just a bit of bevel and emboss and using a specific setting for this interesting underlit effect. Okay, let's go ahead and see how this whole thing is done. I'm just going to minimize that out of the way, and we'll start with a brand new file. I'll be using the default Photoshop sized file, which is 7 by 5, except I have the resolution at 300 pixels per inch. That's that printing resolution. Choose OK, and there we go. There's our page. I'm going to take this whole thing and just dock this up here. We use it docked most of the time, and let's come in and fit on screen. There we are. The first thing we'll do is build that bat. We'll then put that bat aside for use towards the end of the video. Now make sure your colors are on black and white. Click on that icon right there. If they're not, that will reset those to black and white. Come down and grab the ellipse tool, and then just draw an ellipse kind of like that. That's pretty good. Let's now take this and drag it down to the new layer button, make a copy of that and pull that straight across and put them so they're just overlapping just a little bit. So 2 ellipses. Okay, back to our ellipse tool, and then we're going to be doing a little ellipse kind of like this. Make it just a little bit fat. About like that's pretty good. Now I'll use the arrow keys or the cursor keys on my keyboard to just kind of center that. And there we are. So we have these 3 different overlapping ellipses. Looks almost like a cartoon airplane propeller kind of a thing. Okay, take these 3 layers, right click, and we're going to merge the shapes down into one shape, and then right click and rasterize that. So it's just a graphic now. Now that we have that, we can come in here and do our work on this. Go up here and grab the elliptical marquee tool, and I'll draw an ellipse just like this. Hit the delete key. Let's do another one right in here. Hit the delete key, and then another one over here coming in on that bottom piece right there. And then the same thing on this side. These don't need to be exact. I kind of like them better if they're actually not exact. But if you want it exact, that's okay. You can go ahead and do that. Just copy one side and flip it to the other side. But this is the basic idea for making this kind of bat shape in here. Now I'm going to just do a little bit more, I think, right up in here. A little higher on that. I like that better. I'll do a little higher up here. And I'll cut a little bit of that bottom off right there. Okay, now I want to get the ears in here. This is just a real thin ellipse, just like that, right down through the middle. And that gives you that top ear effect. You can then adjust the scaling of this to get just the effect that you want. I think something about like that looks pretty good. There we go. So there's our basic bat. Okay, I'll just hide the bat. Now I'll come back to him later on. Okay, next thing we need are 2 lines of text. I'll put those in separately, but let's first go up here and I'm just going to name this layer bat. There we are. Okay, back to the background layer. Go over to the type tool, and we're going to be using copper plate Gothic bold for the Scarefest standard typeface. If you don't have it, you can find that online real easy. Just type in copper plate Gothic bold free and you'll find that. And then for the other one, I'll scroll up a little bit here. And here we go. Berlin Sans FB Demi. This is for Halloween. Now we'll be changing the shape of this a lot. So you can use almost any fat typeface for this. I happen to like how the W looks on this, which is why I'm using this particular one. But another good choice in here, Bauhaus is a good choice to start off with, and also Arial Black, which is up in here somewhere. There's our Arial. The black form of this real heavy Arial is good as well. Also, any big, solid, fat, black typeface is fine. There we go. Okay, I'll start up here. I have mine set at 110 points, and then put this in all caps. There we go. See, most of it is just straight type, but it has an interesting W that I like, so I'm using it for the W. Now this has curves and stuff. We'll be fixing that in just a little bit, but let's get both of our type lines on here first just to have something to work with. Come back down to the background layer because I want to have the Scarefest underneath the Halloween text. Okay, back to the type tool, and this time we're coming back down to that copper plate. So I'll just scroll down for that. There we go, copper plate Gothic bold. And just type in Scarefest. On this one, I like these little kind of pointy serifs on this. It has a bit of a Gothic look, but not too Gothic. So it's just kind of in between a clean typeface and a little touch of Gothicness about it. Okay, this one we can now hide. We'll get back to that later. Most of the work here is done on this text. Now I'll be doing some modifications of this, so whenever doing a lot of modification on text, I always make a copy of the layer first. So grab your layer, drag it down to the new layer button, like that. There's my copy. Hide the original, and we'll work on the copy. Okay, up to the text or type menu up here, and we're going to convert this to a shape, just like that. Now that it's a shape, we can change the shapes of the letters. So I'll zoom in. I'll do just 2 or 3 of these in this video, then I'll pause and finish the rest of them. I'll show you what I'm doing, the approach I'm doing. I don't want you to watch me here for a long time doing every single letter, because it takes a little while to do this. So I'll do a couple or 3 of these so you get the idea. Okay, come down here to the direct selection tool right there, and click on the edge of the letter, and there are all the control points. That's what we get when we converted this to a shape. Now some of these are corners, some of these are curves. We want everything in corners. It's a little bit of a process to do this. You have to go over here and grab this tool right there, the Convert Point tool. If you click on a point, it converts to a corner. If you pull and drag, it converts to a curve. So we're going to be just clicking on every single point. Just work clear around the whole outline of the type. And I'll start right there in that bottom one. And I'm just going to go around and click each one of these. Notice these little control handles pop up. That means that that's a curve on that side. But as I go around, those will go away. It's a little hard to see these dots. I'd zoom in, but the dots never get any bigger. They always stay the same size. So just again, work your way around and click on each one of these points. And this will then be converting these over into curves. Now it's possible that you may miss one. It's possible that it doesn't convert to a corner. If it does, we'll spot that easily enough as we're working, and then we can then convert it at that point. So it's not a big deal if you miss one of these, so don't be concerned about that. Okay, just going clear around. Now the reason I'm doing this is that once I have these things converted to corners, everything's going to be in straight lines, and that will give us more of an interesting look for our type. And by having this in this shape mode, we can move these things around. So now go to the direct selection tool right there, and we're going to change these things a bit. Now to change it, all you have to do is to click on a point like that, and you can then move that point. So I'll just move those two. Now my theme I'm doing here is outside lines I'll be pushing in, and then inside lines I'm also pushing in and away from this space. So we're just putting in some of these kind of corners in here. Some of these I'll be doing little horns on. Some of these I'll be making them into just big points. There we go. That's the beginning part of this. I'll now take this one, I'll pull this one in and that one in a little bit, and I'll pull those in. So I'm just giving it kind of a zigzag effect. On this one we'll do some points. So if you drag like this over a couple of points, it selects both of those, and you can then move all of those together. So you can come here and actually move more than one point at a time. So I'm going to pull these corners down a little bit. Just like that. I'll do the same thing up here. Now these have 2 points, or 2 of these dots on the corners because it had a slight curve there. You don't have to be exact on this. If it's a little bit off, it actually looks better. And then now I'm going to do a little bit of fun stuff here. I'm going to grab all of these bottom ones. I went too far, I actually hit that one, so I'll just be real careful in here. There we go. So I have all the bottoms selected, so I can kind of pull these in like that. And I'll grab all of these bottom ones. I'm using my wheel on my mouse when you see me move up and down like that. I'm going to pull this one just down a ways down here. We may adjust this later, but something kind of along those lines. Okay, I'll do 2 more of these letters, and then I'll pause the video and we'll do the rest off video. Okay, the A is the same idea as that. L is the same idea. I'll do little horn things on the L's and pull the sides in and kind of point the ends here. The O is a little bit odd, so let's do the O. I need to back out just a little bit on this one. There we are. Same thing, click on the outline. We can now see our control handles. Come in and grab the change tool here. Let's change all of these, convert all of these over to points just by clicking on them. Notice how they're all going straight as soon as I click on them. And that's what you want to see. And I'll just work my way around the shape. There we go. Okay, let's go back to the direct selection tool. Now in this case, I'm going to pull the top up and bottom down, and I'll pull the sides out a little bit. And this one, there's still a little bit of a curve right there. See that kind of a curve happening in there? So let's just hit that one more time. There we go. If it's not letting go for you, it looks like it's not letting go here, just grab that control handle and put it right on top of the point, and then you're okay. The same thing here on the inside. I'm just going to pull these out a bit. So I'm stretching the whole thing, and then I'll come back in and I'll pull in these midpoints. Oh, I had 2 there. That's what was happening. Okay, I don't need 2 points on that, so I'm just going to go over here to the delete anchor point tool. I'm going to hit on one of those, just delete one of those points. There we go. Put that back to my convert and back to the direct select tool. Okay, so something kind of, kind of like this, just giving it a more interesting shape. It still reads like a 0, and that's all we care about. Again, don't worry about this being perfectly accurate. If it's a little bit odd or rough, it actually adds to the effect here for the Halloween thing. Okay, I'll do the W here next, and on the end, same trick as just on the end. I'll take the bottom part and pull it down further, and you'll see that in just a little bit. Let me show you this one. I'll do this one just a little bit differently. Again, back to the convert point tool, and I'm just going to walk myself around all of the points here, and I'm going to zoom in. There we go, a bit better. And we'll continue to walk around the points. Let me make sure I get all of these in here. This is the most tedious part of this whole project, is just clicking on all of these little points. It's not really necessary. You could do this with these things being curves, but the curves kind of soften up the look of the letter. And for this Halloween effect, I like having letters being a little bit more severe with those hard edges. And we'll just walk our way around, click on all the dots. Just about finished. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm doing a little different approach on the tops of these letters. On the beginning H and also on the A and the two L's, I dig that kind of pointy thing at the top. So I do this same kind of trick on these first four, and on the ones after the 0 I'm doing it a little bit differently. That's I'm taking the midpoint here, and notice we didn't get that converted. There we go. And it's still not converting properly. Okay, back to our selection tool. There's the problem. I'm making these into this kind of a point. So you have two ways to go on this. You can do this kind of a point if you want to, or you can do this double point thing. Whatever you feel like. Now the more work you put into your letters, the fancier they'll look. We're going to be doing it fairly simple for this video. Now my same idea here is I'll take these pieces and pull them in, so I'm making the letter thinner on all those sections. And at the bottom, I'll pull the bottoms down a ways here. And I'll make this a little bit off. I'll take this one down further, so it's not exactly even. There's a little curve right there. I'm going to leave that on. I think it's kind of interesting looking. Okay, so that's the basic idea, is just to go through here and change the shapes of the letters a bit by moving these control handles. And you can have some fun with these things, and even if there's stuff like that, that's interesting. It just adds a bit of a kind of a random effect in here to these different letters. It's just kind of edgy looking. Okay, let me just zoom out a little bit. We'll see how this looks on these first few. There you go. So there's the H, the O, and the W. And you can kind of see the approach I'm doing. I'm making it just a bit pointy on this. I'm now going to pause the video and I'll finish the rest of these letters. And as soon as I'm done, I'll then bring the video back up again and we'll do that coloration and the bevel and emboss tricks on this. Okay, there we go. There is the finished lettering. Now at this point you can take a look at this thing and you can make adjustments if you want to. Let's go back here to our direct select tool. Maybe move some of these things in a little bit if it's looking a little bit heavy in spots or not quite what you want. So make your adjustments like this on this large size so you can really see the weight of the letters. And I think over here I'm going to pull this corner in a little bit, and I'll pull the whole corner down a bit more. Okay, let's now bring back up our Scarefest. There we go. And that's looking pretty good. Let's go to the Scarefest line. There we are. And move tool. Just kind of line that up. You don't want these things overlapping. You want a nice amount of space between them. And that looks pretty good, just kind of like that. Okay, so there's the basic lettering. We may need to adjust the vertical aspect of this in a little bit. So there it is. That's the hard part is now done. Let's now begin working on the coloration. Go back up here to our copy. Now we need to rasterize this layer before we color it. So just in case, I'm going to make a copy of that and I'll hide this one. And I'm going to change this here and call this one shapes. This is my Halloween shape. And this one's going to be the Halloween raster. So I know if I want to make a change in the shape of the letters, if I'm not quite happy with that, I can always go back to this layer here, which is what we've got right there. Okay, right click, and we're going to rasterize the layer. It's now just shape text. Okay, let's put our gradient in here. Hold the control key down and click on the icon for the layer. That selects all of the text on the layer. We'll be doing a gradient from top to bottom so we can keep that vertical. I'm just going to grab a guideline in here and just kind of pull it in here somewhere. It doesn't matter where it is. Just how I want a little vertical reference. Go over to the gradient tool and click up on the gradients on the editor. I'm going to put that clear to the right hand side. Now the left side, We want this in a green color. So I'll come into my greens a little ways. Something around in here. I have mine set on only web colors to just limit my palette, make it a bit easier to choose. But something around there. It looks like that's about the second green bar. There's the green yellow, the second one of the actual greens. And around there somewhere. That looks pretty good. On the right hand side, this one just needs to be yellow. Click on the yellow and there you go, upper right hand corner, bright yellow. Now I want mostly green and a little bit of yellow. So if you set the location tab here, set this to 75% and choose OK. Now click right above the top of the letters and pull straight down that guideline to the bottom. Let go. I need a bit more yellow in this. I won't pull it quite so far this time. There we go. Almost there. That's what I want. Just kind of yellow across the base of the lettering in there. And this just deselect that. So there's the basic coloration for that. Let's now do the same thing for our Scarefest. Now again, it has to be rasterized. So I'll take this layer, drag it down here, new layer, and let's rename this layer Scarefest Raster. Right click, rasterize type. Same trick, hold the control key down, click on the icon, and that selects the text. Back up here to the gradient editor. This time I want yellow on the left hand side, so click yellow. Back to our bright yellow, there we go. On the right hand side we're going to be doing an orange. I'll just kind of drag it down there. That's what I want right there. So that's kind of the 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the first or the middle orange band there in upper right hand corner. So there's our orange. Now on this one I want mostly orange and not as much yellow. So click on the little location tab right there and make this 25%. And then once again go from the top of the letters on that guideline, pull straight down the guideline to the bottom of the letters and let go. And it's just a matter of coming in and getting just the right amount. There we go. So I came down pretty low on that one. So that gives us our nice yellow across the top. And then we'll deselect that. Okay, so far so good. Now I want to have a black outline around both of these. So I'll do these things separately. I'll do the Halloween raster first. This is a layer effect, so layer, layer style, and we're going to be doing a stroke. There we go, stroke, color black. You see there's the outline, but I want this really, really thick. So we're going to be doing a fancy stroke around this, and I'll be doing this at 59 pixels. There we go, so real thick. Everything else stays the same. Let's now copy this layer effect. Right click on the layer and copy the layer style. Come down to the Scarefest raster, right click and paste layer style. There we go. Okay, now we can move our lettering a bit. Make sure I'm on the move tool, and I'll just be using the keyboard keys, the arrow keys, and I'll move the Scarefest up a little bit. Notice right here the outline around the stroke around the H is just cutting into the S. I want to have this just down below that, right there. Okay, now we don't want this white area in here, so we're going to clean that. We're going to hide that. Come down to the background layer. Make sure you're still on black. Go up to the shape tool and grab the rectangle shape and just draw a shape in there. Just a big rectangle like that, just a big black shape. It's sitting in behind everything and it hides that. You can clean up any little things like right down here. I think I'll just do a little one right there as well. Just kind of minimize that spot. And there's the outline. Okay, now that that's done, let's put in our fancy bevel and emboss on the Halloween raster layer. So go back up to that layer. Now you can just double click where it says effects. That brings the effects back up again. We're adding in a bevel and emboss. And on this one we'll be clicking on the bevel and emboss itself right there. It's an inner bevel, and you want chisel hard. There's a pretty hard bezel. We want a pretty fancy depth on this thing. So I'll set the depth to 174 in there. And size, we'll set the size to 24. So 174 and 24 gives us that real hard beveled effect on there. And then to adjust the quality of the lighting in here, we're going to be coming down to where it says shading and gloss contour and changing the contour. Notice how most of these are angled this way where the contour is on the right hand side and it's white on the left hand side. There's one that's backwards. It's right there. And this one's called Gaussian inverse. Click on that one, and that inverts the lighting and gives us that lighting underneath effect right there, kind of a neat spooky underneath lighting effect. And choose OK. So there's the fancy bevel and emboss lighting. Now all we have left to do is to put our bats in. So let's bring our bat up right there. There he is. He's pretty big. So I'll resize it, grab the corner, and just bring him down until he's a nice size. About like that. Looks pretty good. And come just outside the corner, and we can rotate him around like that. Now, to be able to see where he overlaps onto the black, we need to have a stroke around him as well. So layer, and let me make sure I just click on the OK check. There we go. Layer and layer style and stroke. This stroke has to be in white. There we go. He's in white. And we want to make it just a bit larger so we can actually see this thing. Let's try this at 8. There we go. The amount that you have there, it's up to you. I think 8 looks pretty good. Just a little bit of a white outline on that. And we can then bring this around until it just begins to overlap some of the letters. Just like that. Looks pretty good. Again, you can adjust the size if you want to make it larger, smaller. Really up to you on that. Click on the check mark again. There we go. Okay, I'll copy this layer, drag it down to the new layer button. There we go. Here's my copy. Let's put this one over here. Come just outside the corner, get that kind of a double curved arrow, and let's spin him around a little bit and bring him down here right on top of the end. I'm using the arrow keys on the keyboard now just to fine tune his position. That looks pretty good. Okay, one more of these. And let's grab the first one again. Oh, check mark. There we are. Grab the first one, drag it down to the new layer button like that. And I'll pull him down. This will be the one in the middle here. And I'll spin him around. Again, just a little bit off center like that. And I'll pull him down so we're just cutting into a couple of the letters down below here. I think that looks pretty good right in there somewhere. Okay, just apply that one. And let's now float this picture and see how we did. Let's just hide that guideline, and there we go. There's our Halloween Scarefest. And as you see now, it's actually pretty straightforward. The only hard time-consuming part about this whole thing is just doing the reshaping of these letters. It's not difficult. It just takes a little while to do. But there you go. There's your Halloween Scarefest text logo. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series, along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this